Hey guys, if you want to see how I made this chicken and sausage gumbo, keep watching. Okay, so let's get started. I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview of some of the seasonings and ingredients that we'll be using in this gumbo today. Take note that this is in no particular order. I will have all of the ingredients that I put in this gumbo listed in the description box. But I do want to mention that some of the flavors may vary if you choose to use a different ingredient. For instance, like the hot sauce. I like Frank's Red Hot. It's more of a vinegar based, a little spicy, but not too spicy. But if you use something else like Tabasco, it may change the taste. And then also for like the chicken bouillon, if you choose to use chicken broth instead, that may alter the flavor, but it should still turn out really good. I also want to mention for the chicken, you can use skinless, boneless. It may not taste as good. We all know that chicken thighs typically have more flavor anyway, but the bones do add an additional amount of flavor, so I do leave those in. And then also for the sausage, you can use whatever you like. Conecuh sausage is really good. If you're from Alabama or surrounding areas, if you know, you know. It's really good, but you can use andouille as well. For the next part of the video, you'll be seeing me dice most of the vegetables up. We'll be using onions, celery, and bell pepper. I almost forgot, but I remembered. So I also put some garlic in there. You can use as much as you like or as little. I like to use anywhere between 4 and 5 cloves, but like I said, you can use as much as you want. So I'm not going to really talk through this part. I'll speed it up, but you guys can kind of watch it if you want. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and prep the pan. I turn the eye on about a medium temperature. I don't know how your stove is set up. That would probably be about 6 for me. I added in the vegetable oil as well as olive oil. I kind of do prefer just using olive oil alone because I notice that it enhances the flavor for the vegetables, but the mix is fine as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and add those veggies in, sweat them so they get tender. You can do this a little bit more or less. Again, it's all about preference. I know some people like a little crunch. I like my veggies to be tender when it comes to gumbo. And that probably took me about 10 minutes to get it to my desired texture, but just gauge it according to your liking. Okay, so you guys are going to be seeing me add a little bit of salt to the veggies. I tried not to add too much, just a sprinkle. This really does help with sweating the veggies, getting them to cook a little bit faster and releasing some of that moisture. I will not be adding any more salt into the gumbo because most of the seasonings have salt. You got to think about the hot sauce, you have the chicken bouillon, and then you also have the Creole seasoning. I did also use a little seasoned salt as well as the Old Bay. So it can get a little too salty if you put in extra salt. Just stick with the measurements that I have and you should be okay. Now that the veggies are done, I'm taking them out of the pot. After this, I'll go ahead and add in the conecuh sausage. You want to make sure that you render it as much as you can, meaning even if the sausage looks a little bit crispy, that's perfect. Now that the sausages are rendered, we're taking them out of the pot, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to add the chicken right behind it. Yes, that's right. We're layering those flavors. That's where that good gumbo flavor comes from. If you don't do that, you may miss out on some of that good flavor. So please make sure that you keep everything in one pot. It really does add to the whole essence of gumbo. Okay, so I want you guys to really pay attention on this part. This is where I like to add the majority of my seasonings. You want to make sure that your chicken is seasoned. Just because gumbo is flavorful does not mean that you don't season your chicken. In fact, this is where a lot of that flavor comes from. So I am going ahead and adding in my seasoning. You saw me add the seasoned salt. You saw me add the garlic powder, the onion powder as well. This is where I add the bulk of my seasonings. The only thing you won't really see me add is the thyme or the bay leaf or anything like that at this point, but we are seasoning, guys. So again, season to your heart's content or as little as you like. This is your gumbo, you know how you want it. I just kind of like to season heavily. That's how we do it where I'm from. And so just do what you want. This is really important, so don't skip this step. Okay, now that we've cooked the chicken, we took it out the pot and we're going to make the roux. Now this is where you will see me make my mistakes. All I can say is please follow the instructions in the description box. Don't be like me. Don't burn your roux. I'm going to leave that part in there just so you guys can see what happened. Just don't follow what I did. But I'm going to go ahead and remake it as well. It ended up turning out perfectly at that point. But just make sure that you follow the instructions to the T with the roux because it can be pretty tricky. You don't want to take your eye off of it. And then you also want to make sure that you don't cook it too little. You don't cook it too much. There's a sweet spot. Everybody kind of has their preferred sweet spot. Mine is a little bit more of the milk chocolate look. Some people like a more dark chocolate look. It's about preference, but we don't want burnt nonetheless. So please follow the instructions. At this point, I was starting to notice something looked a little strange. I know that sometimes if you have bits at the bottom of the pan, they can start looking a little more burnt. You'll see some of those darker bits down at the bottom. And I'm starting to move the pan around just to try to look to see is it burnt or not. Probably around here is where I started to smell that burnt smell, and then it just kind of went downhill from here. So again, y'all, please don't be like me. Your gumbo will be ruined if you use the burnt roux. Just start all over. Okay, so at this point, I've gone ahead and start making the roux over. You can feel free to skip this part. The process will be the exact same as how I did it before. Okay, so the roux has now officially made it to that milk chocolate color that I was telling you guys about in the description box. You can always go a little bit darker than this if you prefer. It'll make a deeper flavor. If that's what you're going for, go for it. But I prefer to keep mine a little bit more in the milk chocolate range. Now that the roux is done, this is a very crucial step. You want to go ahead and start adding in everything, your veggies, your meat, as well as those tomatoes. And then you also want to add in your water. This is going to help slow down the cooking process so that your roux does not get burnt. When adding your water, feel free to use your own personal judgment. I would advise that you use no less than 6 cups of water, but if you do like it to be a little bit more soupy, I would advise using 8 cups of water. I just eyeballed the amount of water here just because I know what consistency I'm looking for. You can do the same, or you can just go along with the instructions in the description box. At this point, you want to go ahead and start adding in your herbs, your hot sauce. You can also add a little bit more black pepper if you like. I like a lot of black pepper in mine. I'd like to do it at this stage. There's no set way to do it. This is just my preference. Once you've added in all of those herbs and other seasonings, you can go ahead and bring it up to a boil. I would do this for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I would check it just to make sure there's no sticking at the bottom of the pot. Once your gumbo has boiled for about 15 to 20 minutes, I would turn it down to a simmer. This is also the stage where you start to see a lot more fat and oil rising to the top. You want to make sure that you skim that. It will affect the texture as well as the consistency of the gumbo. So please don't skip that step. Get as much of that fat and oil off the top of the gumbo. Okay, at this point, the gumbo has been cooking for about 30 minutes. This is the perfect time to give it a good stir. Make sure there's no sticking at the bottom. We want to make sure we do that throughout the whole process, but once it kind of gets close to being done, you want to do that. Also, add more water if you need to. As you see, I did that. If you like it to be a little bit more thick, you can leave it alone. Just make sure you turn it down a little so there's no burning. But this is definitely the stage that you want to do a little bit more tweaking. You want to add a little more seasoning. Taste it just to see if it's how you like. If not, do whatever you need to do to tweak it. But it should be perfectly fine. Other than that, we're waiting for that chicken to get really tender so we can take it off the bone. You guys will see that a little bit later on in this video. At this stage, you'll go ahead and add the okra. The gumbo is technically done, so if you don't like okra, you can stop it here. Go ahead and get your bowl of rice and enjoy. But if you do like okra, I would advise that you add it at this point now that the meat is all tender. And just make sure that you cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes so the okra will be completely done. Or you can add more time to it if you need to, but 10 to 15 minutes should be good. And so we're just going to let it cook, and then I'll let you guys see what that looks like once it's done. Okay, guys, so the okra has been cooking for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a perfect consistency. I'm just checking to make sure it's done. There's really not anything else that you would need to do at this stage but add your gumbo filet. You don't have to add this. Sometimes people don't like the taste of it. I think it's really more of a thickener, but it does have a little bit of a flavor. To me, it just adds to the whole essence of what gumbo is. Again, make sure you do this how you like it so that you can make sure that you enjoy it the way that you like to enjoy it. Okay, we've officially made it to the end of this video. If you like this recipe, make sure that you leave a comment and like this video as well. Please subscribe to our channel and let me know what other cooking videos you'd like to see us do. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.